Our green cleaning class teaches residents to make less toxic cleaning products from everyday items they may already have in their pantry. It saves money and reduces the need to purchase household hazardous waste products that contain a host of chemicals. While that class tackled the indoors, what about the outdoors? That's where our green gardening class comes in. One of the secrets to cultivating a great garden is to deter pests that try to sneak a bite before the crops are ready. There are a number of products available at big box stores that are designed to kill those bugs, but with lengthy warning labels attached to them, are these chemicals you'd want to put on your homegrown salad? Recycling specialist Janet Moreland will teach you how to prevent pests with simple homemade solutions from items you may already have in your pantry. And best of all, there are no massive warning labels attached to any of the ingredients. We'll cover recipes for deterring bugs and weeds, and once we learn how to make the recipe, we'll head back outside to show the application process. These are simple solutions containing 1 or 2 ingredients, but if you miss the recipe in the video, all of the measurements and items used will be listed in the description box underneath the title. By green gardening, you can deter pests and weeds, clearing the way for bountiful harvests without chemical-laden pesticides. So without further ado, take it away, Janet.
These are nice recipes that you can make from ingredients that you already have in your pantry to help fight off some of the things that we don't like to have in our garden, like pests. So one of the things, one of the simple things to do is just to go out and spray with a heavy stream of water. If you see pests on your plants, that's your first offense. Probably already have a hose in your hand anyways. So go ahead and spray off all those insects that you can. A good firm spray with a spray bottle will also do. And so keep your arsenal near you, and when you first see an infestation start, get on it right away. So okay, now we've got our infestation going and we need to step it up a little bit. One of the easiest sprays to make is just a soapy water spray. And so what we'll do is put 1.5 teaspoons of soap in a quart of water. And I'm using smaller quantities with these recipes instead of making a gallon at a time. We're using smaller quantities so that we can use up all of this material in the garden as we use it. I don't know, I can't tell you how many jars I have sitting around that I mislabeled or didn't use up. But a quart of ingredients is pretty easy to do. So you can see this makes a nice little soapy substance. You can also shake it up a little bit if you'd like. And then what I would do is take the soapy water and pour it into a spray jar, and then take it out to the garden and spray directly where the bugs are at.
The application for this one couldn't be easier. Find the bug infestation on the plant and drench the whole area with the soapy solution. Keep an eye on the plant and repeat every few days as necessary.
So the next insect spray is a little bit heavier duty. We're going to ratchet it up. So if I found that the water didn't work and the soap didn't work, I'm going to ratchet up a little bit. We're going to do an oil. So this is more of a concentrated recipe. So we're making a concentrate, and then we're going to be able to use that concentrate further on down the road in our spray bottle. So this one starts off with a cup of oil. And you can use various types of oil. I prefer canola oil because there's less trans fats, but you can also use regular salad oil or vegetable oil. If you only have olive oil, a little expensive, a little more pricey, it'll still do the same job. So you can use olive oil if you'd like. So that's 1 cup of oil, and I just kind of let that drain there for a little bit. And we're going to put a teaspoon of soap in there. And the reason for the teaspoon of soap in this, the oil is going to coat the insects' bodies, but the soap will actually help adhere the material to the, adhere everything to the plant a little bit more. Gives you a little bit more staying power. And one of the things I always like to do is I'm going to write on my bottle what I've got in it. So this is bug spray, it's oil and soap, so I've got my ingredients, and then my ratio. Once I have it prepared, I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of mixture to 1 quart of water. So shake that up, and it kind of emulsifies. But so I'll keep that on my shelf until I'm ready to use it, and then again, label everything. I went ahead and put some in my spray bottle here, insect spray with oil and soap.
This concentrated solution works much like the last one we made. Once it's diluted to the proper strength, just spray at the source, coating the vegetation and any bugs that are present. Repeat as needed.
Sometimes you can see where the bugs are eating, but you can't find the bugs. You can't find a worm, can't find anything. But you know something's eating because the shape of your leaf is not right. It's been eaten or eaten out. You can see holes in it. So I had a plum tree that had just blossomed out with flowers, and I was expecting the leaves to come out, and I went out to the garden, and here's my tree just all naked of no leaves, but I could see little green stems all over. So something had been eating my leaves on my tree, and I strongly suspect it was a grasshopper or a couple of grasshoppers for them to annihilate a tree. But it was still early spring, and I still had time to save the tree. So I went ahead and tried this concoction, and what this one is a tablespoon of cayenne pepper. And this is like the easiest one to do. And so I'm going to add that to a quart of water. And this one, I shook it up and I let it sit for a day, and I would shake it up a couple of times during the day just to see if I can, get all of the pepper powder to be absorbed in the liquid. And then I went ahead and then you just use that straight. So that's 1 tablespoon of chili, a chili pepper powder in a quart of water. And I went out and put it in a spray ball and sprayed my whole tree. And what that does is it's unpalatable for the bugs or the heavy insects that are eating it. And lo and behold, in a couple of weeks, my tree had started to recover, and I've got plum leaves again. So my tree is going to be fine.
Once our pepper solution is loaded into the spray bottle, use it on all the impacted areas. You'll be able to see a red tint on the locations where you've already applied the solution. One major tip, avoid using this one on windy days, as spraying into a gust could result in you getting a mouthful or eyeful of the hot pepper spray. While the cayenne spray is helpful against most pests, snails and slugs can be especially devastating on leafy greens. To remedy this situation, just pour yourself a cold one. Well, pour yourself most of a cold one. Take a few ounces of leftover beer and place it in an empty tuna can or pie tin and put it near ground level. Slugs and snails are drawn to the liquid and will fall in. Okay, now that we've handled one type of garden nuisance, let's touch on another. Plants that we're not trying to grow, and how to knock them down without resorting to glyphosate and other chemical weed killers.
Let's get on to weeds in the garden. Not all of us have time to dig our weeds out of the garden. So this is a little bit of a helper from the pantry that you can make your own ingredients for weed spray. Also getting away from some of the heavy chemicals, and we're hearing a lot that's not the best thing for us as people. May do a good job in the garden, but may not be the best for us. So one of the easiest ones to make is just a spray bottle with distilled white vinegar. And this is just straight distilled white vinegar. So there's no ingredients spray. Use as much as you think you're going to use. So if you just have a small area and you want to saturate some weeds with this material, with this spray, perfect. And again, always label your container so you know what's in it. So this one I know is just white distilled vinegar. That's one of my favorite ingredients for using at home for cleaning materials and for making my garden concoctions.
This application is really simple and can be used for weeds in planter beds or the dirt. Just aim the spray bottle and apply the vinegar. Again, there are no harsh chemicals, so you can reach down to flip over different parts of the weed to ensure that you'll coat it thoroughly.
This next mixture is going to be a little bit stronger than the last one. This one is going to be salt and vinegar combination. So what we'll do, and again, I'm mixing it in quart-sized jars. So it's a 1/4 cup of iodized or table salt. If you want to use your kosher salt, that would be fine too. But I always go for the less expensive that I can find. So it's 1/4 cup of salt and 1 quart of vinegar. Again, label your jar. And this is going to take a little bit of shaking. You certainly want to agitate it until the salt is broken down and absorbed in the liquid. And then you can put this into a sprayer and spray your weeds. Caution with using this weed killer. Because it contains salt, salt can render your soil infertile. So I don't use salt and vinegar in my planting beds. I'll use this in the cracks in the driveway, in the sidewalk, on the patio, anywhere where I've got weeds growing that I definitely don't want to grow, and I don't want anything else to grow there too. So salt and vinegar, this is nice, potent, and a good ingredient to use for that.
As Janet mentioned, this isn't a solution we want to put in garden beds or dirt we'd like to grow things in. However, this weed in the patio is in the perfect location to employ the salt and vinegar solution. Simply drench it in the liquid and watch it wilt over the coming days.
Another favorite with our green cleaning, we use a lot of borax in a lot of our cleaning products, but it's also useful in the garden. And borax is a laundry detergent booster, and you can find it usually at most grocery stores where you'll find your laundry ingredients. I don't have an 1/8 cup measure, so I'm using half of my 1/4 cup measure. And put that in there. And again, you want to shake that up. Now, the borax takes a little bit longer to break down in the water, so it'll settle, and you can see I've got some stuff down there in the bottom. But I'll just keep shaking it. You might be able to speed it up by using maybe some really hot water instead of just room temperature water. But that will go into my sprayer, and then I'll go out and start spraying that on my weeds. To eliminate your weeds. The same precaution on this as the salt. I wouldn't spray this in areas where I've got plants that I want to grow, because I don't want to reduce my soil health.
One final tip. Once your garden is coming along, you'll want to pay special attention to the tools you use to maintain it.
And then the last thing, this is another important ingredient, I think, for green gardening is a lot of times we have diseases or illnesses and sickness in our plants. And you go and you cut off the dead or diseased portions, and then you go over to a healthy plant and start trimming and pruning that. So what we need to do is always remember, when we're dealing with diseased plants, that we need to sterilize our tools as we go along. So this one, and you can make your own little tool sanitizer using bleach, and this is going to be 4 teaspoons of bleach, be careful with using bleach, because we know what bleach does to clothing. So bleach will damage your clothing and will turn your blue jeans into white jeans. So let's be careful with that. And that goes into 1 quart of water. And I shake it up. And this one, definitely I want to label it, because I'm going to keep this in my garden or with my bucket where I usually keep all of my tools that I'm going to take out to the garden. And so periodically I'll dip my tools in, both the cutting edge as well as the handles too. You just never know if you've got a really bad disease in your garden how it's going to be transmitted. So just erring on the side of safety. Also make sure your tools look nice and clean, and you won't think twice about the next time you pick it up. So always sterilize your tools before you start cutting on a plant and at the end of the day when you're done. So I hope that you find all of these tips and tools easy, and it makes your life a little bit easier with less chemicals.